spend on this precious earth, my friend. You never know when it will be over. Every day you live to see, give praise to the Almighty. You never know when He'll call your number. Hey, if you see a man fall down, pick him up from off the ground. Remember that man could be your brother. Yes, you might fall down someday. Someone else might be right there to hand you a precious glass of water. I said to live nice with your neighbor. Live nice. Live nice. I said to live nice with your sister. Live nice. Live nice. Cause remember, naked we come, naked we go. We here today, gone tomorrow. Swallow your pride, put hate aside, and live nice. Live nice. Live nice. Live nice. I said to live nice. Hey. I cry for the youths today. They seem to have lost their way, drifting from the good old time traditions. They seem to be at a loss, on a great collision course, messing up with drugs and ammunition. Hey, recalling the old time days when we used to romp and play. At your neighbor's house was always welcome. Whatever they cooked, you eat. Wherever night fell, you sleep. Children were respectful to their elders. I said to live nice with your neighbor. Live nice. Live nice. I said to live nice with your brother. Live nice. Live nice. Cause remember, naked we come, naked we go. We here today, gone tomorrow. Swallow your pride, put hate aside, and live nice. Live nice. Live nice. I say to live nice. Just live nice. Hey. Yeah. Ignorance and jealousy are pillars of treachery that leads on to bitterness and hatred. The longer you remain vexed, you never know what comes next. You might do something that's not so sacred. Hey, forgiving is hard to do. The things that some people do, your basic instinct is just to choke them. But anger is poisonous. It just is not good for us. It could lead to some serious heart problems. Hey, I said to live nice with your mama. Live nice. Live nice. I said to live nice with your poopa. Live nice. Live nice. Cause remember, naked we come, naked we go. We here today, gone tomorrow. Swallow your pride, put hate aside, and live nice. Live nice. People live nice. I said to live nice. Just live nice. The longer you remain vexed, you never know what comes next. You might do something that's not so sacred. Hey, forgiving is hard to do. The things that some people do, your basic instinct is just to choke them. But anger is poisonous. It just is not good for us. It could lead to some serious heart problems. Hey, I said to live nice with your mama. Live nice. Live nice. I said to live nice with your pooper. Live nice, live nice. Cause remember, naked we come, naked we go. We here today, gone tomorrow. Swallow your pride, put hate aside, and live nice, live nice. People live nice. I said to live nice. Let's live nice. Hey. How drastic the world has changed. Nothing is sacred again. Disrespect is now the new world order. Mr. Dollar Bill is king. Some men will do anything. Once the price is right, they'll sell them more down. Hey. Yet all is not lost, I say. If we take one step a day, we could make a little reparation. Nothing is impossible. Oh God, we need a miracle. Got to find this missing generation. I said to live nice with your neighbor. Live nice, live nice. I said to live nice with your daughter. Live nice, live nice. Cause remember, naked we come, naked we go. We here today, gone tomorrow. Swallow your pride, put hate aside, and live nice, live nice, live nice. Say to live nice, live nice. Hey, mommy, live nice, live nice. Happy, live nice.
Oh, yes. Live nice. Rootsman. Rootsman. One of the sweetest voices of Calypso. Rootsman. Live nice. Live nice. For you here today, gone tomorrow. One day you might need a glass of water and somebody will be there to give it to you if you live nice. There is a place for morality. There is a place for humanity. Good evening to all of you and welcome to our Monday edition of Politics 101. Wherever you're joining us from, whether it's from St. Kitts Nevis or any other place in our Caribbean, our Guyana, of course, if you're joining us from wherever in Guyana, it's a wonderful Monday evening and it's good to be here again with you. Queens, New York. Good evening, Beatrice. And tonight we are going to do a little bit, do things a little bit different. We're going to open up the lines tonight. We're going to open up the lines tonight. It's now, 7:13. So probably in another 10 minutes or so, we're going to open up the lines and hear from you tonight. The numbers there scrolling at the bottom of the screen and WhatsApp. Don't call straight. Just use the WhatsApp number. So we're going to be open up in a couple of minutes. Welcome to all of you. You're joining us on this wonderful Monday evening. Teacher strike continues today. They are locked in negotiations there with the government of Guyana. We'll see where that goes. The teachers are in this for a long haul, and we all stand with the teachers. We all stand with the teachers' union. Amanza Walton this year has signaled her intention to join the race, or she has joined the race for leader of the PNC. Amanza Walton this year. Amanza has appeared on this program several times. And from all the signs we've been seeing in recent times, it pointed in the direction of her contesting for the leadership. And she announced today, apparently over the weekend, in the Stabroek News today, Amanza Walton Desir throwing our hat in the ring. So now there are three candidates: Aubrey Norton, um, Amanza Walton this year, and Roysdale Ford. Aubrey was here last week, and he plans to come back this week. I think around Thursday time or so, we're going to try to get him on, and then we've got to get Roysdale Ford and Amanza Walton this year on to talk about their candidacy. Lots of controversy arising from Norton's appearance on Politics 101 last week, and it set the tongues wagging because of his stance on street protest. He said, to the effect that there'll be different forms of protest, new forms of protest, and he made the case as to why street protests may not bring the kind of results that are needed at this moment. And of course, he pointed to the fact that the PPP is in the habit of infiltrating the marches and using their money to scare people and so on and so forth. It doesn't seem as though it went down very well with the base. It doesn't seem so. Norton claims that he may have been misunderstood. And so when he comes back this week, he would clarify for us. The interview was covered. Stabroek News carried, not Stabroek, Kaito News carried a report on it. They carried a report on it, and so therefore it's been making the rounds. And I think there was a response from Roysdale Ford, who said that he favors street protests, and so it may become an issue. I haven't heard from Amanza where she stands on that, but we will see. Norton is coming back. He's coming back on Thursday to make his case. He said he was misunderstood, and he's coming back. So here we go. Amanza Walton this year announces candidacy for PNCR leadership. So there you have it. The Congress is set for the end of the month, end of June, I think the 28th, 29th, and 30th. And the AFC would be having their Congress on one of those days. So that will be a busy weekend politically. So we're going to give full coverage to the candidates running on the PNC side, and we're also going to at some point talk to the folks on the AFC on their upcoming Congress. Still a lot of conversation about the PPP's conference, their Congress that was held 2 weeks ago, in which they announced that Marxism, Leninism, and socialism are no longer part of their constitution. But the methodology of Marxism, Leninism, the way in which it is administered, something called democratic centralism, which really is centralism, that is that ultimately the decisions are taken by the center. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what that means. You know, the monarchy, ultimately, the decisions are taken by the monarch in a monarchy. In a presidential system and a parliamentary system in the West, The people's representatives ultimately make the decisions after elections and so forth. And democratic centralism falls into that category of where the decision, the monarchy, the decision is taken by the center, hence democratic centralism. So, for all intents and purposes, the PPP is trying to fool people and fooling itself, Marxism, Leninism was, let me put it in context. For all the years of the PPP was Marxist, Leninists, and socialists and communists. In Guyana context, the PPP was an Indianist party. It says it was Marxist, Leninist, and it spouted that rhetoric, but it never won an election or contest an election on Marxism, Leninism. It was always appealing to its ethnic base. And that ethnic base were far from communists and socialists. They're peasants and farmers and so forth, and they tend to be more free market than socialist in orientation. I don't think, they will say it takes a village to raise a child. That is more in the socialist mold. But I think a lot of the PPP supporters were never socialists in that sense. And their embrace of the PPP and Dr. Jagan had nothing to do with Marxism. It had everything to do with racial solidarity. And so the Marxism was the rhetoric, and it turned out to be a mask. And once the Cold War was over in the late 1980s, the PPP made the pivot. Dr. Jagan gave in to everything that was non-socialist. I mean, he continued the economic recovery program started by Desmond Hoy, which was a free market program. He didn't touch it. And so it's not as some people are saying, it's Jacques Diot that took the party there. No, the party, in order to win the 1992 election, the party had to make a deal with the right wing, the business elements and so on. And it was not the first time that the Indian business class were embracing the PPP. After Burnham left the PPP in 55 and Quayan and others left in 56. In fact, one of the reasons that Quayan and others left, it was the infiltration of the PPP, the Jaganite PPP, by the business class. People like C.R. Jacobs and Edward Biari and so on were actually ministers in the PPP government. And so the Indian business class has always been part of the bosom of the PPP. So here you have a business class in the bosom of a communist party. You all work it out. Work it out. For the Indian business class, the PPP was never communist. The PPP's policies were never communist policies in that sense. I mean, the mode of governance, the authoritarian mode of governance, was influenced a lot by the communist methodology. That is democratic centralism and domination. So that they're taking it out of the constitution, no, it's neither nor there, although it was in the constitution, it was thing. But the fact that they've only taken out socialism and Marxism, Leninism, and leave the devil, that is the democratic centralism, the domination. So, of course, there's a lot of conversation about that. I noticed quite a lot of comments about the PNCR race. Good evening, Nima Flubes, one of my favorite politicians, parliamentarians. Yes, so officially now there are three candidates in the PNC race. Aubrey Norton, who is the incumbent, Mansa Walton Desir, has thrown her hat into the ring, and Royce Dale Ford is there. I don't know who else is going to be there. I saw an interview on the weekend with Rear Admiral Gary Best, another PNC EXCO member, who said that he thinks that the Congress, there's not enough time to prepare. He would have wanted the Congress to be more in August, and so there is that view there. But there have been calls. There have been calls for the Congress to be held. The Congress was due last December. You look, but it has to do with the openness of the PNC compared to the PPP. The PPP Congress was due since, I think, 2019 or something around. And it's like 4 or 5 years overdue, and you didn't see the PPP members, and PPP supporters calling on Jack, hold the Congress. But on the PNC side, the Congress was overdue for a few months, and you heard PNC members call the Congress. Come on, Norton, call the Congress. It's not a bad thing. But it shows that the PNC is much more open. I'm not using the word democratic because everybody throws that word around. The PNC is much more open when it comes to competition within the party. And where you have open competition, you are going to have criticisms and counter criticisms, and attack on the leaders and so on. Since Burnham passed away in 1985, he was the last of the real maximum leaders. Hoyt came in, and Hoyt tried to be a maximum leader, but he was challenged by Hamilton Green. And we come right through to Corbyn, who was challenged by Alexander and others. Granger was challenged by former Foreign Minister Carl Greenidge. And now we have Norton. So it's nothing new on the PNC side to have challenges and counter challenges. And they're going to be sharp rhetoric. And I think that's a good thing for openness. I'm using the word openness rather than democracy because everybody knows democratic. Everybody knows democracy. The PPP doesn't have that openness. The decision as to who is the leader is taken by 35 persons. And that's it. That's a democratic centralism, But the PNC Congress is here, and a lot would be right. And I rather suspect this issue of street protests is going to be big in the campaign and so on. Norton came to office promising a much more strident approach to opposition to the PPP. And people read that to mean that he was going to be more open to street protests. Something I think Granger wasn't too big on. But the feeling was that Norton was going to be open to that. And so fortunately or unfortunately, Norton is going to be judged partly on the question of street protests and other forms of aggressive opposition. After all, as I've argued, the PPP's mode of opposition was never street protests. Here and there, you will see a street protest over the last couple of years, but you never saw the PPP in any big march in Georgetown or Port Morant or anywhere like that. The PPP's mode of aggressive protest was to use their position in the economy to undermine the government of the day. So the business people would withhold investment in the economy. The farmers and so on would withhold bringing their produce to the market, or they would bring just enough to sell and, they're gone on home. Or they would burn canes in the Burnham years and so on. And so their form of protest was more along that line. They would use strikes by GAU and Nasi. But when it comes to the PNC supporters didn't have any cane to burn. They weren't big in the business sector, so they couldn't use that as leverage. And so they depended more on street protests. You go back to the 1960s, come right through to the 1990s. Whenever the PNC has been out of power, it has been street protests. And street protests is long before the PNC. In fact, colonialism in the Caribbean got its last blow in the 1930s, what they call the 1930s riots. These were street protests led mainly by trade unions from Bahamas and Jamaica in the north, right down to Trinidad and Guyana in the south. They were street demonstrations, street protests. And that forced the British to send a commission to the Caribbean to find out why were there street protests. You colonize people for 150 years, enslaved them for 250. And then when they're protesting, you're asking why they're protesting. But anyhow, the commission came, and the commission, of course, told the British, the people want independence. That's why they're protesting. And so the independence movement, the decolonization movement was started. So protest is human, you know, and like we said, there are different forms of protest, but for African Guyanese and PPNC support, street protest is their weapon. And there's no shame in protest, it's not illegal. Bob Marley said, I want to disturb my neighbor, and that's what protest is about. You're disturbing the status quo. You're saying to the status quo, I'm not in favor of what's going on. Dr. King said those protests are the voice of the unheard wanting to be heard. And of course, you know, Dr. King was big in street protests. You see? So, like I said, Norton at best was ambiguous. He spent a lot of time saying why there should not be any street protests. And then he said there'll be other forms of protest, which he didn't lay out. So people concluded that he was against protests, in particular street protests. He did say, of course, that there are new forms of protest. Didn't lay that out. And so people, including me, what we heard was that there's no protest. One of my historians telling me it was the Moyne Commission that came down after the 1930s demonstrations. And that's why I love this audience. You all are very well informed audience. And all my guests who come onto this program, they say that Politics 101 has a very sharp audience, you know. They don't miss a beat. Yes, it was the Moyne Commission, Isaac. Moyne Commission. And so, yeah, Brother Norton apparently has some explaining to do, and I'm sure he would be able to explain. But I think that issue of street process is going to be big going into the Congress. And as I said, Roysdale Ford has come out in favor of street protests. I don't know where Amanza stands on that, but it seems to me that will be certainly a big issue among the base. We don't know, because you see, the average person in the street is not going to go to Congress. Congress it's delegates from the party. Delegates from the party. And the way the delegates think is not the way that the masses think. So whether the delegates will make that a big issue when it comes to voting, we don't know. But from what I can judge from the comments when Brother Aubrey was here last week, I would say 90% of the audience saying, no, Brother Aubrey, no, don't take street protests off the table. Don't take. But Norton will be able to speak for himself. As we said, we are going to open the phones, and the number, of course, is 592-603-0010. It's on the screen there. And just call in and give your thoughts on some of the issues that I mentioned, and let's hear what you think. We don't get a chance to open up the phones here a lot, and Mohabir is saying, Dr. Angie, you're wrong. Jagan and Janet were communists. You might get another view on your program. Of course, they were communists. I'm not saying they were not communists. They were communists. But they didn't organize based on communism. They organized based on Indianism, on race. They didn't go to the constituency and tell them, vote us in so that we can bring communism together. They never were dragging me down to the street corner. Never. Never. Of course they were communists. They were communists who benefited from ethnic mobilization. They were communists who benefited from ethnic mobilization. So one is not saying that they're not communists, or they were not communists. They were. But they were communists who pandered to the ethnic constituency. And that ethnic constituency didn't vote for them because they were communists. That ethnic constituency didn't care too much for communism. That ethnic constituency wanted to make money. They were more capitalists than communists. But here were people who were capitalist-oriented, voting for a communist party and a communist leader. They never give up on Jagan. They might have soured on him. I went into Indian homes, especially in the quarantine, and you see the Indian deity, the Hindu deity picture, and then Jagan picture next to it. Sometimes you may see Gandhi. Jagan was close to deity among Indians. And this was a man who was a communist, who was an atheist. He didn't believe in Hinduism and religion and all of that stuff. But he never fought it. He never fought religion, although he was an atheist, because he knew where his votes were coming from. You see? So Jagan was both a communist and a race leader. A communist and a race leader. Only in Guyana. Only in Guyana. Welcome to Politics 101 on a Monday evening. Those of you who would like to join us, you can call us via WhatsApp on 592-603-0010 and share your views on the issues of the day. The issues of the day. Big news, Amanza Walton Desir has thrown her hat in the ring. It was quite an interesting race because you have Norton is an old-timer, being in the PNC, grew up in the PNC, serving various capacities in the party, And then you have Ford and Walton Desir, who are relatively new to the inside politics of the PNC. They may have been around the PNC, but not, unlike Norton, they weren't part of the PNC machinery. So in a sense, they're new. So I'm sure that is going to be an issue between the newer members and I think we have a caller here. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
I would like to take up the issue with the teacher strike. I see the Deborah Waves has reported that they have ended in a stalemate and no date has been set for resumption of talks. Now, the situation as I read it, the ministry has the teachers in a very funny position because CXC is going on. Teachers have prepared the students for CXC. Grade 6 exams are completed, and the ministry have decided that they're not going to do end of year examination. So virtually they're saying to the teachers, we don't need you. You can do whatever the hell you want. So I think now the teachers need to up the ante, maybe get parents of students on the streets with them, parents who are within the public service, because from my understanding, the public service union may not want to come out because there's some court issue. So, but parents individual parents can say, look, my child's future is at stake and we have to defend that. And so they can come out. Or if they don't come on the streets of these public service can just say, look, we call a sick out for today and start hitting the system, because unless the system is pushed into a situation where the business sector says, look, we are suffering, the PPP will not move a muscle. They will not flinch. They are willing to stick it out because we are going into the August holidays and the teachers, the strike will not be of any significance within another month or so. It will not impact anybody. So they need the assistance from public servants and other sectors to get out there, right? I don't know how this can be done, but basically I'm saying parents should start responding now, and let us see how they will deal with that when the parents start to come out. Because this government is saying that we care, definitely they don't care for nobody else but themselves. And with that, I will say we'll close on this issue.
Thank you, my brother.
Right.
Thank you for coming through. Thank you for coming through. And of course, the caller there raising the question of the teachers' strike and the fact that the government is not budging. The word is that today they've ended in a stalemate. They've not made any progress today. So the government is not giving in. It's not budging. After what the court has said, after the first teacher strike, after the support by parents, the government has disregarded all of that and have decided to fight the teachers. And I'm saying that when you're fighting the teachers, you're really fighting workers. You're fighting workers of all, let's see, another call is coming through. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Politics 101. Hello? Good evening. Yes, you're on. You're on Politics 101. Hello? Yes, go ahead. You seem to be listening to yourself, caller. You're on to Politics 101. We seem to have lost that caller there. You all know the drill. You want to turn down your device so that you're not listening to your device and trying to speak at the same time. So please make sure you turn down. So there's a number 603-0010. That's 592. Come through on WhatsApp because the straight calls are not going to make it through. Make sure you come through on WhatsApp. Good evening to all of you who are joining us. We are opening the line tonight so that we can get some views coming through from the audience. And we're talking about the teachers' strike. It has ended, the talks today ended in a stalemate. In a stalemate. And so, after all this talk about trying to do right by Black people, all this talk about wanting to win PNC supporters, all this talk about wanting to have one Guyana, you're fighting one category of workers. Sugar workers came out on the streets a couple of weeks ago. One day, they get called in, the matter was settled. That's how it should be. That's how it should be. But when it comes to public servants, it's a different kettle of fish. Different kettle of fish. It can't be equal. There's no equality there. And that is the issue that we have to confront. That is the issue that we have to confront. And we have to call a spade a spade. And my quarrel with the politicians is that they don't call a spade a spade. I think the opposition case would be much stronger if it says, I think somebody else is coming through here. Hello, you're on to Politics 101.
Good night, Doctor. I'm sorry for joining you so late, but I was at the Booker funeral all the way up in Buxton, so I just got in. Anyway, with I thought you said you would have had the leader on Mr. Norton, but here you're talking about the teachers' strike. Now, Dr. Hines, this government, they don't care about nobody but themselves. Because if you should look at the public servants on the whole, public servants need proper money for salaries. Because on the 1st of May, I had a placard there with the nurses' salary. And the teachers' salary is atrocious. The nurses are worse off than the teachers. And this installed regime don't seem to care about anybody. How the studying is about itself. And I wish that Patrick Yardy, we had a representative there on the at May Day. And he come out, and I thought that the man was a doctor, is a doctor. And now he spoke on the 1st of May. I thought that he would have allowed the other workers, the public sector workers, mainly the health workers, to come out and join the teachers' strike. But they're not doing nothing. So I don't know what we can do to see people's salaries being increased in this country. That is my comment. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, sister. There, thank you very much. And the issue of the workers' teacher strike continues to be a big issue. Hello, caller. You are on to Politics 101. Good evening.
You heard me?
Yes, yes, we are.
Yeah, just a quick contribution to your program. First of all, I must commend you for opening the line so you can hear some viewers. You promised to have Mr. Norton back on your program.
Yes, he will be on before the end of the week. Before the end of the week. We are shooting for Thursday.
It will be nice when Mr. Norton is back on your program. If you will have you call him, because I think Norton, I know he said he has do a lot of visit and he'll drop out and visit people in the community, but I don't think Norton is aware of the disenchantment from his base, from the supporters of the PNC I think he's a little bit lost, and I won't want to use the term lost, but I don't think he understands. Despite he saying he's doing about and he's doing visit, I don't know who he has been meeting and so, but he's not aware of what is taking place with his base. Because if he did, he would never take protest on the table. He would never have taken to be a seasoned PNC
Albert, coming up and has reached it, and has now he has reached to the point where he's now the leader of the party. And now he is saying that he's taking protest off the table as a form of as a farm to deal with some of the issues that people are going through in this country. I believe that is simply signing his death warrant with politics is not, but I think he's coming to the end because that is what Horton and Horton did. Even if there was someone who was willing to give him another chance, I believe that position that he has recently taken, but not recently taken, but maybe he has made it public because Norton forget that he campaigned on the platform that he's a person can challenge the PNP, can take on the PNP. That's what he said when he was campaigning for leadership. And I believe this is why they chose him over Armand, because remember when Armand became the leader of the opposition, that is one of the things that people became alive with Armand about, because he was doing too soft for the PNP. And Norton came in and said that he can take on the PNP. And now that he became leader for the past 2 years or so, and it was done soft on the PNP. And I think that is what our them. So for him to, so I believe if you ever call him statement, and people will tell him plain that is not the position of the masters of the PNC. That is not the position of the masters of the PNC to take protest of the people. Now there's a famous man in Winston Churchill, which I think you will know, that he's a historian, who led the war in one of these famous wars.
The Second World War.
And when people were talking about war and get some, Winston Churchill made a famous statement. He said, "War of casualties. You can't go to war and don't expect people will not gonna die. People will die once you call a war. So you can't do the crowd dance and them on. If you call protest, a protest is not meant to be something normal. I mean, when people say protest is designed to make the normal abnormal, to make things uneasy because of things are not normal. But when Desmond Knight famous statement in 1997, he said they're going to make the things ungovernable. That is what things is meant to do. It is meant to disrupt things, not in a violent way, right? It is not meant to make things nice and sweet. So they think this Norton position is very, very disappointing. Now, and the things that is so Norton, I'm of the view, or I form the view that he probably thinking about himself because maybe there's a nice opposition salary and benefits. And he's saying the only way to take out people is to beat them at the election. So he's telling his supporters, y'all wait until next year, November, for some relief. And what about if you don't win the election? And if you don't start battling for change that voters list, you're coming nowhere close to meeting the PNP. Even once you did go into the election with that list, they don't let that bad beat with the list. That the people don't do what they want to do with the list. And all we are going to change it. It's not too long they complain about this, and they're not voting. It will take strong protests for them to get the message. And people used to say that Desmond Knight was soft, but Desmond Knight has come over as a master to these current political leaders we have now. It has not been shown that Desmond Knight is a god over these current because people were saying that Desmond Knight was soft. But Hyde has shown you, and he made a statement where the 1997 protest didn't hear anything. That was so disappointing because the 1997 protest that Desmond Knight led, it brought constitutional change, it took away 2 years from the PNP term, it brought retirement people to guide us, the three wise men, and a whole manner of things it brought. So for him to say that the protest didn't bear no fruit, that now was I don't know. In terms of the strike, it is very confusing that the public service union is so quiet on the teachers. They're not supporting the teachers. I'm not talking about this one-two statement. There have not been any strong support to the teachers in the first phase of the strike in February and in the second phase. They are not giving the teachers no strong support. And the case of the teachers won. The public service is in a similar case because it was the public service was the first people that the Jews was taken away from many years ago. And now that the case was the people win the case, it should be of interest to the people too. Well, again, them and all too, I don't know. So thank you very much for your attention and a pleasant good night.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming through, caller. Thank you so much. And the caller there makes a very important point: is the dissonance between where the leaders stand and let's see, another call is coming through here. Hello, go right ahead. You're in Politics 101.
Yes, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Politician, a politician for years. This is Franz Garden. You know, I must represent my leader, Abiy Norton. Guyanese have to realize one thing in history. Opposition leader do not bring down a government down and out. It is citizen them of a country that bring out a leader. And that's what we must encourage the citizen to come out and fight for democracy. I don't know if the brother that just called in, if he go back to 2020 election, is Eastern supporters them. I make a mistake for say Eastern because I love to say Koli. Is it for the people them, for the people in the government, is them bring Granger out of office and get him to concede of nonsense. It's not Jack Joe and Ali and Anela. It's the people that protest on the East Coast, burn and black off the road, stop business. Jack Joe said plain that he would tell the private sector not to do no business, crippling the country. Why we keep on calling for an opportunity to Abiy Norton? Abiy Norton already explained himself the reason why election is couple months. Why you want Abiy? The people them have to go outside there, my black brother and sister. You see, the problem is we don't know about politics and politics. Let me repeat myself again. Jack Joe is waiting for Abiy Norton to take people out there to punish them and for them to turn against Abiy Norton. Why Abiy Norton bring us out here and he don't have money for bail us? Look, we live our family home, we get locked up on all these things. We got to be careful when we're talking about protest. Protest. It comes with the next word, sacrifice. How many of us ready to make a sacrifice to protest? Mr. Amsterdam showed a video after I finished talking this morning. Oh, look how many black people carry down line and run a line for buying mattress. But for go outside and protest, no. They want Abiy Norton to go outside there and to say, hey, tomorrow man will protest. We got to be careful of this word protest. We got to use our brains, not power. We protest. Abiy Norton cannot tell them young MPC, Desmond Prasad, give Abiy Norton, allow Abiy Norton to possess 1997 for take charge. What happened to the young MP them to do this Abiy Norton, give them a chance to go outside there and do what Abiy Norton do in 1997? What's wrong with we black people? Look, Suriname. Suriname. Venezuela land protests. Soldiers put on them gun and join the protest line. Abiy don't have that cooperation with Guyanese people, not even the soldiers and police. But I agree with them. Don't sacrifice black people your vote for protests. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Flash Gordon. We have another side there, another view, another view there. I think we have another call coming through. We understand that the volume is not as high as could be. Hello, yes, you're on to Politics 101. Go right ahead.
Yeah, Dr. Hines, people keep calling for this street protests and they're changing leaders because of this street protest story. The fact is, the PNC has keyboard protesters and keyboard warriors. I don't care which leader they change. The people are just not militant, and the leader is as good as his followers. So this calling for street protests and then everybody behind the keyboard and behind their cell phone, it's not going to work. So I don't have a problem with this body call for street protest and the body call for it, and we're going to vote for this body. I don't care who they put to lead it. They have no coalition. But I'm saying to you, the street protest thing is deeper than what we're thinking. Norton is finding excuses not to have street protests because he knows when he looks back, there'll be nobody. That's my take. Respect and thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. And that's quite an interesting take there. Quite an interesting take there. Hello, you're on to Politics 101. Hello? Good night, you're on to Politics 101. Good. Go right ahead.
Abiy never says against protesting. He never said take it off the table either. But he was explaining that there are many things you can do along with the protesting. However, there are many of us Guyanese. We can call it protesting. We can go out there and we can protest, and then parties can even fit behind us. But what I am saying, you've got to be very careful because this government has no respect for the Constitution. The police force of Guyana has no respect for the citizen. And they are controlled by the PPP government. You're going to look and see what all the other day with the PPP when they had the meeting and these things. You could see what's going on. Even the man that is on the commissioner of police is going to everything the PPP government is saying. So you got to be careful when you go to protest. Even that is very important and valuable and precious for the citizen. But you got to be very careful. It's itself went in Linden when they had a shooting on that bridge. And that's why they're keeping him back to do their dirty work more or less. Guyanese got to be very careful when they are going out to protest. They got to be calm as a dog and wise as a serpent. However, protesting is a main tool that has to be used and it can be used and must be used. But the Guyanese has to be careful because the PPP is willing to bloody the hand with the blood, especially of the African Guyanese. So Guyanese, be very careful in your choice of decision we're doing. Have a blessed night. Have a blessed night.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you very much. And oh my God. Hello, you're on to Politics 101. Good evening.
Guyana is in a serious situation, I think, more than we will want to believe. A government that is behaving the way the PPP is, I cannot see that they expect to win any election. And if Jack Deere have that kind of capability, to be honest, he himself will come out and tell you
he can't win an election with the way that they are governing and what they call govern. That I will call it rule, not govern. So there is something there that is very serious more than 2020 where it comes to the PPP approach in controlling that country. I think the opposition knows this. The PNC didn't born yesterday. Mr. Norton and them didn't come from yesterday. But there's something there. There's something there that I want to believe is at play that have an external involvement. That the opposition is being told, because of them, I think, fall in line in expecting these foreigners to do the same as they did for Jagdeo to get them into office. And they're being told, I think so, that's my personal opinion, that we know what is street protest, we know what is protest. And they ain't going to cut with the foreign investment there in Guyana to have these type of serious situation. So I think they're being told that, listen, that is off the table if you guys need to get into office. You need to plead your case, in a different way other than that protest issue. That's my belief. The reason why the opposition is not taking that bold step with protest. There's nothing Hickens police force could do. There's nothing the Guyana police force could do. If you put all the strength together, that you may barely find a 7,000 strength in our military or paramilitary together, comparing to the political capital that the opposition has. You did bring out about 20. Look that last campaign that they had here before the election, the 2020 election, when the drone show us what was taking place there at that park. You just need half of that. And the people will have to understand what protest is. You just need half of that crowd. And there's nothing 7,000 military personnel could do. Period. They're going to get hurt, and serious hurt. But I think that's the situation. Getting the Congress that is coming up and finding other leaders here from the PNC, it will be the same way as Norton. Because the opposition already take a stance. How they're approaching this way of getting into office. Simply look at Chicom. What 12 or 6 person out there choose your events wherever the day is to protest could do to shift GCOM position. And that is one of the main sources that the opposition is talking, is that doing anything of the sort in that area. So we are having a situation there that beyond, that we may not understand, some may not understand, or might refuse to understand or to look at. We cannot get, let us start with GCOM. As Norton said, that you have to get some purpose when you go out there in the streets for protest. All right, good, let me take his word. There is reasons. I don't know what reason more he wants than what is taking place in Guyana for protest. All right, let me go with this way of saying that you got to get a reason and a plan, and you got to ensure that you're successful in all these things. When you go there to protest, you're looking for success. You have an objective. You understand me? Nobody go out here to protest wild or for nothing at all. All right, you want a reason? GCOM. You have GCOM there. Let me start there. You understand me? But I don't think that there will be any difference.
Okay.
You will either emerge, So that's my little contribution for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming through. Thank you so much. Of course, once we open the lines, we get to hear more than one perspective. I'm still interested in the perspective of that sister who said, the Norton may well call a protest and look wrong, and there may not be any people there with him. Quite an interesting take. Let's see what this caller. You are on Politics 101. You're on the air. Hello? Yes.
Say that I think protests in Guyana, it would not be so effective as days gone by when we used to come out of Sophia protesting. And in those days, even if Rizal Ford was a young man, or if Amanza Walden, the deer was a young girl, I have never seen them nowhere wrong protests. Aubrey Norton was the hallmark of most of the protests, right? And Jack Joe has no respect for Rizal Ford nor Amanza Walden. I know when you hear the name Aubrey Norton, sometimes he trembles, right? And, you know, Mark, with no respect to Mark, right? Mark, you know, he really tried to say that, you know, the opposition leader should come out and protest and bring his people on the streets and take. When Mark used to protest on the streets, Mark never used to call on no opposition leader or no leader or nobody. Mark had his team that used to go out of the streets and protest with. Never hear he was so vocal in calling out the opposition leader or the leader of the party at that time, right? So I think he should go to the back seat. But no disrespect to him. He should go to the back seat where, you know, getting the opposition leader to bring up his people in the streets. God forbid if something happens when the opposition leader brings out his people on the streets. You know everybody gonna say, it's Norton make that happen. Everybody's gonna call on Norton, right? I can remember at one time Mark had a program, and J.R. Crawford and Norman Brown, if they were together, they would have been the biggest fight of the century between the two of them. And now, breeze cannot pass between the two of them, because Norman Brown was representing Aubrey Norton at that time, right? You don't know what is going on with Mr. Norton that you want him to go out the streets and bring his people out on the streets. He has a strategy and he knows what he's doing. So he would not, you know, to call upon Mr. Norton all the time to go out there and bring his people on the streets, right? Because let me tell you something. This government do not respect the Constitution. And there's a madman at the end, right? He would get the people of the opposition supporters shot down in the streets. So we got to be very careful. And I think we should not call upon the opposition leader to bring his troops out to the streets. I think there's a no-no.
Thank you.
I think there's a no-no. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you very much for coming through.
I'm seeing a red X on your screen there.
Thank you very much. We'll take a few more calls. We'll take a couple more calls because we're running short on time. But we are hearing a range of views on this issue. Hello, caller, you're on the air. You're on Politics 101. Hello?
Good night to you.
Yes, go ahead.
And your good audience. So I want to address this issue with this GCOM and this voters list. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the next year election. Of course, the PND Congress and the PNC will have their Congress soon. Yes, the party they will go into preparation mode for the upcoming election. I don't believe the election will be next year. November, I think the people on the card of election much much earlier, even though it may be said that should be next year November. However, I believe the opposition is raising a golden opportunity to deal with the voters list. I think they're taking the voters list too lightly. Yeah, there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of bombings, and this is bloated, and there's a lot wrong with this. But just like what happened with the local government election, I think the PP is banking on the fact that the PNC the opposition will be caught in a spot that they will have no choice but to go in the election, because I think the PP have decided that they don't have the balls to boycott the election. They don't want, because what happened if the PP alone go into this election, there's no way that this will be normal in a country if you just a one great party contest an election. It will never be normal. Anyway, with the amount of lawyers in the opposition, I don't think they explain to the nation the problem with the voters list. The other side, they're saying that the judge said that nobody needs to come out of this, and the judge never said that. Just like this recent teacher strike with the judge, where they said the judge said strike is illegal. The judge never said that. What the judge said is that once you would have tried everything, you take all the necessary steps. But if you take all the necessary steps and there is no response, and you use strike as the last resort, then the strike is legal. That's what the man put out. The man never said to just get up and just strike just like that, and it's illegal.
Yeah.
He said you have to take the necessary steps. You take all the steps in order you do to this, you do to step 1, step 2, step 3, and so forth. And then if there is no response, like what the government has been doing with teachers since for the past 3-4 years, there is when your strike is legal.
Yeah. Caller, you want to wrap up? You want to wrap up? We're coming down low on time, and there are a couple of other people who are trying to get in.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But in the issue with the voters list, I'm saying that the judge said you cannot take people name out of the NR, which is National Registration, not the voters list, which has to be extracted from the NR.
Thank you very much, my brother, and thank you. Hello, caller. You're on to Politics 101.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Man, I love your show, man. Love your show very much, but I just want to give a comment, but Mr. Norton.
Yes, go right ahead.
Yes, Mr. Norton, man, I think the guy, he needs to get up and get out with the people there, man,
You want to turn down your device, because I'm hearing myself in the background there.
Give me one second. I just want to give a comment, but Mr. Norton.
Yes, my brother.
Yeah, I just want to give a comment about Mr. Norton, man. Mr. Norton, I think he needs. Because I'm hearing myself in the background. Turn it down, neighbor. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Norton, man. I think Mr. Norton needs to get out and get busy with the people, them too,
Yes.
I mean, the thing with the protest, protest is good. But in America, they do it all the time. So I don't see no problem with protesting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Good night.
Good night, and thank you for coming through. Oh. think we lost that caller there. Caller, I'm sorry, you got dropped. If you can come back. Let's see here. There we go. Here we go. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you're on to Politics 101. Go right ahead.
Yeah. Good night. Viewers, good night to all. Now, the reason why I would always advise Norton to come in the streets and confront Barrett is because the only thing that Barrett respect is when he see black people in an angry state. And despite the fact that we know that he can use, we assuming that he's going to get the police force and the army for shoot we down in the streets, when the world see that they're going to shoot we down in the street, because I believe the police force and the army is conscious of what they're really about to do in this time. I ain't saying that they ain't got political police that would want to do the bidding of the PPP. But I know the majority of police and army, it is my opinion that the conscious that when this government is doing a wrong to the citizen of this country, this thing is not about only the black people. Yes, we know black people is the majority that feeling the heat, but the Coolie people will feeling the heat as well. And people need to come out in the streets to let Barrett see that being comfortable thing is not regular, because it ain't regular, Dr. Hines. Regardless of whatever we start, it ain't regular. And we know, at least I know, it is better you stand up and get shoot down than if you lie down in your bed like Boston and get shoot down either in a car, going to the police station like Headley, and they shoot you in your back and kill you. You understand me? So, I mean, I don't even want to use the word understanding, because people understand what I'm saying. We need to confront Barrett, and we need to confront Barrett with the opposition leader, because this kind of narrative Barrett showing up all the time. He's afraid of Norton, and he's afraid that Norton bring out people in the streets. And I know a lot of people talking about, yes, when you bring out people in the streets, people want to run and rob this and rob that. We got measures and we got things that we could put in place that we could stop vagabonds from going for do things for lead the protest away from what it really is the issue. Black people need to stand up and face the issue of what they're facing in this country with the discrimination and the injustice and no equitable. Look, the things that are happening to black people in this country, we need to stand up and fight against it. We need to stand up and fight against it. This is all I say. Regardless of how much people believe that, well, okay, don't let Norton bring out the troops because we need. Man, listen, man, people got to die anyhow. It's better you fight dying than you dying and you're a coward. You're dying and you're fighting. You give up a fight now, nothing, brethren. Yeah, I tell you, I got me place. My sister got she place. And there's a man gone and bully she for she place. So, and she ain't got nobody for stand up. She was one in there for stand up. It's not she brother got to go and stand up and confront it. And if Darkness is this brother's keeper, if Darkness is the representative of black people, Darkness got to put himself out there with we. He got to put himself out there with we. Call me out. Some people are about, oh, he might get the support. I guarantee that Norton getting 100% support whenever he come out in the street. That is my contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We're gonna take one more call. And then but quite interesting discussion tonight. The various perspectives that you're hearing. We'll take one more call. I think we dropped that call there. But a very interesting discussion tonight. Very, very important discussion. And I hope the political leaders are listening, because I think often they do not hear the people. Let's see this caller. Hello? You're on to Politics 101.
Hello, Dr. Hines. Good night.
Hi, good night.
Good night, Dr. Hines.
Good night. Go right ahead.
Yeah, my contribution tonight is why it is Jack Deal has the right to protest. The PPP has the right to protest, whereas the opposition can't protest or the teachers can't protest. And I totally agree with the caller just now and calling just now. I totally agree with him with the point that we not need to be out there. If you want to be dominant, you need to stand up with the people. You can't be hiding behind the curtains and thinking you're going to tragedy. What tragedy these people want to see? Does Jack Deal use tragedy? They do as care about the teachers. And I am supporting Coretta with her support for the teachers, and she's been a strong person for them. She's backing them totally. Aubrey Norton needs to throw some balls and go out there and stand up for the people. And we need this man to be strong. He can be a kitten. He needs to be a lion. And why it is, the PPP has the rights to do everything that they feel that they want to do. And we are being second-class citizens in our own country, or we're being treated as tenants in our own country. The Venezuelans are getting the total rights of this country more than the Guyanese people. That's what I want to see. And another thing, Dr. Heights, my strategy, what I need to tell Aubrey Norton, this strategy he needs to use, shut the country down totally. Complete shutdown. I think all the public servants should come together and down tools and shut the country down completely, because they are very important to this country. Without the public servants, this country can't survive and this country can't work. Nothing. Nothing in this country can work. It's like that is what makes the wheel spin. So they are very important at the end of the day. If you don't have them, nothing can maneuver. And Jack, they need to know that the public servants are very important. He needs to pay the teacher and public servant, all the rest of public servants as well, and stop being a fool. Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you very much, my sister, for coming through. And I think we're going to call it a night there. Thank you very much. I think that's going to be our last call. Mr. Norton is going to be here later on this week. I'll have to figure out which evening, but it's looking more like Thursday or Friday. So you will get a chance, and I will consider opening the phone for him to open the lines, so that he can take some calls. When I speak with him, we'll work that out, because of course we have only so much time. I want to thank all of you for coming through. I think the volume got better towards the end. And it's always good to hear from you, because you bring to bear perspectives. And, you know, the caller before, that sister who said, you know, the people get the leader they deserve and the leader get the people they deserve. And I always say that. I think she echoes my view. You get political action when there's a synthesis, a synergy between the leaders and the followers. The followers have to want to follow the leader, and the leader has to give the followers reason for wanting to follow him. And I use the teacher strike because I think there is a synthesis between Coretta McDonald, and I'm using Coretta because she is the face of militancy, I think, in the teachers, the GTU executive. And I think there's a way in which she captures the sentiments of the rank and file teachers. And so it is that synergy between the leader and the followers that make for effective protest. And so that is why I'm interested in what that caller said, that Norton may be feared that if he calls a protest, he looks wrong, he may not see people there. And people may think that, well, you know, the leader's not serious, and so they're really not into it. So we have to try to get that synthesis. But very good discussion. I certainly learned a lot, and a lot of the comments tonight has caused me to think more deeply about this question. And I think that's the way it should be. So thank you all for coming through. Another evening. And tomorrow night, we're going to have Dr. Henry Jeffrey. And like I said, Mr. Norton is going to be here sometime during the week. And I will talk to Amanza and Royce Dale in arranging for them to have equal time, to have at least 2 appearances, because Norton would have gotten 2 appearances once he appeared this week. And it's only fair that the others get the same opportunity to come and to lay their perspectives out. Thank you all very much and see you all tomorrow night.